Hello, my cookies. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for joining me. So today I got something very, very special. So summer is, to me, just like berry season. Berry fruit, they're all fantastic, especially strawberries. I always get a glut of strawberries in the summer. Today, I'm gonna do a simple, quick galette. So this is like a free-form tart, strawberries. This is very simple, and that's why I love it. So today, we have the summer galette. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make the dough because we gotta let it rest. Then you're gonna macerate some strawberries. That just means toss them with a little bit of sugar. Kind of brings out some of that extra liquid so we don't have a soggy bottom. And then we're gonna put it all together. It's gonna bake. It's gonna bake for a while. It's going to take about an hour to bake, but that's a lot of hands-off time, right? Hands-on time, pretty short, maybe around 30 minutes. First things first, let's gather our ingredients. We got AP flour, salt, ice water. I tend to put in a whole bunch of ice and a whole bunch of water. You're going to need about a third cup. You're not going to use all this. You're also going to need a food processor. You're going to need butter. You're going to need 10 tablespoons of butter. Make sure it's unsalted butter and it needs to be chilled. That's why it's not sitting out here. All right, now that we have our ingredients, let's get started. All right, for your flour, you want about 7.5 ounces, which equates to 1.5 cup. You don't necessarily have to weigh your flour here. It's okay. You can just measure. All right, so there we go. 1.5 cups AP flour. You want about a half teaspoon of table salt. I have kosher salt, so I'm going to do about 3/4 of a teaspoon. All right, now we're just going to process this up. We're going to mix the salt and flour and kind of aerate the flour a little bit. It's going to take maybe 3 pulses. Now we're going to get our 10 tablespoons of butter. You want to cut them into 1/2-inch pieces. Just sprinkle it over top. All right, now we're just going to pulse this. It's going to take about 10 to 12. You want to get it looking like sand. See that? So you see it kind of looks like sand, pretty fine sand. Now we're going to add our water. We're going to add a 1/3 cup of ice cold water. I'm going to pulse it about 5 times. You want it looking like coarse sand. There you go. You can see the coarse sand now. All right, we're going to lightly dust our counter here. And we're going to do a little cheating method to get some layers and some flakiness. Typically, you want a flaky pie crust. Now, everyone's like, I want it tender and flaky. Well, you can't have that because those are opposites. Flaky means you build gluten and it's going to be a little tough. And tender means it's short. You haven't really built a lot of gluten and it's going to crumble and have very little texture other than sand. So in order to build those flaky layers, we're just going to get this into a little mound here. You can press and kind of push away and do that. This is what we're just going to kind of press it into each other like this and smear a little bit. And as you smear it, it'll look a little craggy like this. We're going to build layers of gluten and flakiness. And I'm just going to do it again. I'm smearing it out here. I'm just going to fold it back up on itself. Bench scraper, love this thing. And boom, I'm making even more layers now. Very light on the flour. All right, I'm now going to make a square and I'm just going to fold it over itself a couple times, then form it into a disc, wrap it up, put it in the refrigerator for an hour. Wrap it up in your plastic wrap, then press it into a 6-inch disc here. Just make rolling out a little bit easier. All right, pop it in your refrigerator, let it just sit and chill an hour. You can absolutely freeze this, pull this out another day. So I'm going to pull this out, but I'm going to kind of let it get up to room temperature a little bit. So I'm just going to let it sit. And while it sits, to show you, I macerated strawberries. All right, I bought 2 pounds of strawberries, trimmed off the top, quartered them. And so you end up with maybe about 1.5 pounds, maybe a little bit more. And then tossed them with a 1/4 cup of sugar. Now you can do a little bit less if they're really, really ripe, maybe 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, maybe upwards of a 1/3 cup if they're really not ripe. This is a summer recipe, so strawberries should be in season. They should all be ripe, so you shouldn't need more than a 1/4 cup. I think I did closer to 3 tablespoons because these are good. They're banging. So I toss them around. I'm going to drain these. I hate doing this because it dirties 2 bowls, but you have to. You don't want soggy galette, no soggy bottom. So I'm going to drain these and I'm going to reserve this beautiful strawberry juice because you can put it in lemonade, you can put it in water, you can use a little bit to brush the top of this galette here. It's fantastic stuff. Please don't dump it down the sink. Now that those are draining, I'm going to be using a little bit of strawberry jam and some cornstarch. Now you're asking yourself, Russell, you've lost your mind. You're using strawberry jam for strawberries. Don't they have enough strawberry flavor? And I'm like, yeah, they do, but strawberry jam is pretty concentrated. So we're going to even build up more of that strawberry flavor. We're going to add a little bit of jam, a little bit of cornstarch, and that's just going to bind and keep it from being too loose. And it's going to give kind of the juice a little more texture. And that's exactly what we want because we don't want it leaking all over. So I'm going to do maybe a 1/4 cup of jam here. 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. And now we're going to put in a little bit of salt as well. I've got kosher salt, so at most, maybe a quarter teaspoon, eighth if you're doing table. Now we're going to whisk this around. No lumps. You see how there's kind of like white splotches at the cornstarch here? Keep going. All right, perfect. Now this is what we're going to add our drained strawberries to, and we're going to toss it around, but we're not going to do it yet. I don't want the strawberries sitting in this for too long because it might ooze out more juice. No soggy bottoms. So let's roll out our dough here. As I'm rolling out the dough, you want to turn your oven on. 375 lower mid rack. Here we go. 12-inch circle, roughly. If you start with 6, you're halfway there. Doing it, turning it about 1/8 of the way, doing it again, rolling it out. Not very good at the perfect circles, but that's why this is such a great recipe. It's a free-form tart. It doesn't have to be perfect. And look, you can actually see the little streaks. Those are flaky layers. It's about 12 inches. Perfect. I'm going to build it on my sheet tray. I'm using tin foil here. You can absolutely use parchment. That's preferred. Don't forget to spray it down. Be generous with that spray too. We got our cornstarch jam salt mixture. We got our drained macerated strawberries. Are you British? All right, look at all that juice. All right, I'm adding my macerated strawberries. Saving the juice. I'm just gonna toss this around. All right, the cornstarch is gonna help absorb any of that excess liquid. Strawberry jam is gonna be adding that big, bold strawberry flavor to this. Oh, look at that, so good. Here we go. Gonna dump this in the middle and save a 2-inch border. So you want about a 2-inch border. Now I'm just going to fold this over like this, and about every 2 inches, I'm going to pinch right here, fold it over. Never press it down into the fruit. If you feel like it's getting loose, pick it up here and pinch it there. Never push it down into the fruit. Voila, perfect. Get a little extra sugar here, and I reserve juice. Now I'm just going to brush the dough here with this. And this is just going to help give it a little bit of color, a little bit of browning. I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar because remember, there's no sugar in the dough. So all the sugar is coming from the strawberries, but it might be nice to be a little, have a little sweet little bit as you bite into it. And the sugar on top will help with that. So this will just help the sugar stick. We've got about a tablespoon. I'm just going to sprinkle it around the dough's edge. So you've preheated your oven to 375, lower mid rack, and you're going to bake it. It's going to take about an hour. Here we go. 375, lower mid rack. Perfect opportunity to clean up the kitchen now. And don't forget to rotate it halfway through. All right, in about an hour, I'm going to pull out my strawberry galette, put it onto a wire rack, and let it cool for about 30 minutes. It will seem a little liquidy. That'll firm up as it cools. So we got to let it cool before we cut into it, or we're going to have a sloppy mess all over the place, and no one wants that. That just looks stunning. Look at that. So we did have a little leakage here. The boat held pretty well though. Pretty soupy. We're bubbling. It's exactly what you want. Bubbling. Strawberries look cooked. We got a nice dark brown crust, but it's not burnt. I'm gonna let this cool for a little bit, and then I'm gonna take it off and put it on the wire rack to continue cooling. It's been about 20 minutes. Transferred it to the wire rack. It has cooled completely, but it's still warm. That's how I prefer to eat it. This is absolutely something you can serve with ice cream or whipped cream. Let's get this first cut in here. All right, look at that. Look at how clean that is after that cut. I pulled it out. Look, there's a teeny bit drooping down, but for the most part, it's really clean. That's what that cornstarch and jam did. Really kind of helped tighten that liquid into a more jammy consistency. So looking forward to this. All right, you can top this with a little vanilla ice cream. You can top this with a little whipped cream and a little creme anglaise. I got a nice little cream sauce here. It's a little bit more runny. All right, now we're going to dig in. This is still going to be warm. Look at that crunch. Look at that. Look at that bottom. No soggy bottom. This is perfect. You can see the flaky layers right there. That is so good. You get this big, bold, sweet strawberry flavor, and then the crispy, buttery crust just it gives you that texture contrast to those soft strawberries. It's a perfect balance. This is just so good. It's not overly sweet. Like I can pick this up and eat it like a piece of pizza. Look at that. So good. Flaky, buttery layers in the crust. This is so good. I gotta go give some to my wife. Summer strawberry galette. There you go. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, please drop me a follow. I'm also on YouTube, youtube.com/RussellCooksLive. I'm on TikTok, RussellCooksTTV. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Links are below. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all next time. Take care.